All right there, everyone. For our Patriot Spotlight today, I want to introduce you to one of my heroes. And I mean that very sincerely. I know many of you are out there wanting to do something, right? You feel like you're watching your nation fall apart right before your very eyes, and you want to go out and you want to make a difference in your communities, but you don't know how. Well, today you're going to learn precisely that. In our Patriot Spotlight today, we've got Anne-Marie DiCarlo. Anne-Marie is one of the founding members of Free Pennsylvania Lancaster, which is I've had the joy to speak at. She's heading up an amazing organization there that's fighting for faith, family, and freedom in the Keystone State. And it's literally changing Pennsylvania right before our very eyes. You may not know, but Pennsylvania was actually the first state in the entire nation where a popular referendum, so a referendum that was passed by the people, stripped their out-of-control governor of his emergency powers. This was back in May, if I recall, May 18th, if I recall correctly. They were the first state to do that, and Anne-Marie is spearheading one of the key organizations that helped organize that and get that done. And so she's here with us to show how you too can do amazing things just by being faithful. So Anne-Marie, thank you so much for being with us.
You are so welcome, Dr. Steve. It is my pleasure to be here today.
Did I get that date right? Was it May 18th? That was sticking in my head.
That's correct. Yes.
I remember because it's my wife's birthday. So I was like, okay, I can remember that day. Yeah, I was too interested in the referendum. I said, honey, wait a minute now. Got a nation to save. Now, for those who don't know, Free PA, Free Pennsylvania, I've got my shirt here that you guys gave me here. I wear it with pride. Give us a sense of what is Free PA and what it stands for. What are your core values?
I'd be happy to. Free PA basically is a freedom movement. It's a coalition of people in our community. We're not a formal entity of any sort, at least not at this point in time. But it began shortly after the lockdowns began in the spring of 2020. There were two individuals in York, Pennsylvania, Tabitha Fallot and Mike Atland, who had decided that what was going on just couldn't stand constitutionally. And a lot of their friends and neighbors felt the same way. And they began meeting. And they met every week at that point and strategized on how to defend businesses who wanted to stand up against the governor's tyranny at that time, support them, and work towards making change. So that's how it began.
Amazing. Give me some of those values. I know you have some core values. When I was there, I think both times you had read out some of those values, and I was just like, this is like a dream organization. This is every community, every county should have values like these.
You got it. Absolutely. Well, we first and foremost felt that we needed to educate our fellow citizens because a lot of people don't know what their rights are. I think it was Thomas Jefferson that said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free, then they expect something that never was and never will be. And that is the truth. And we knew that. We knew a lot of our people didn't really have a basis in constitutional education because sadly, in this day and age, it's not being taught in schools to our students.
I was just thinking you defined beautifully the current public school curriculum, unfortunately, but
yes, they focus on things that don't really create citizens, good citizens. And if you don't know what your freedoms are, you cannot protect them. So it's really important. And so we started finding resources for people to read, to watch videos, to educate themselves on our founding documents, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and also our state documents, so that they'd understand, living in Pennsylvania, what are your rights as a citizen of the state. So that it continues to be a key aspect of what we do, and we are constantly trying to expand that and give practical things to people. In fact, this next meeting we're holding a video on the pitfalls of the Constitutional Convention. So we like to explore all the topics. Our attitude is that we want to be a forum for information so that people can hear what they need to hear, listen and learn for themselves, and take it and do with it what they will. But it's important to get all sides. Sadly, in today's world, there are too many efforts to censor, to cut off debate, and that is the basis of a free society. I mean, the measure of a free society is only a place where your opinion and my opinion can both be respected in the public square when we disagree.
Right.
That's really important.
Right.
And so that's one aspect of our mission. We are also committed to engaging parents and getting back control of our public school system. We have realized that for far too many years, we have been too silent, too unaware of what's actually been going on. You gave some great presentations in the past on how progressivism has worked its way into the public school system, and we're seeing that in spades today. So we have organized a lot of folks into committees. We have 17 school districts in Lancaster County. All of them have committees now where people are actively going to the school boards. They're watching what's going on. They're vetting the people that sit on those school boards. And if they're not happy about it, they're committing to run for those school board seats in the next election. So the days of school boards running without any supervision or, aside from parental control, I believe that's over. And I think our people are a big part of that. One of the most fantastic meetings I went to was last year in York. York had a head start on us because they began as Reopen York, PA, and were focused mainly on the businesses at the time in spring of 2020. But then they began to focus on school boards at that time, and then this whole thing grew. And today they have 51 candidates running for the school boards throughout York, which is amazing. I went to a meeting there in, I guess it was April, May of 2020, where they gave a lot of these folks who were running a chance to get up in front of their neighbors, the community that gathered there, to tell them what their opinions are, what they're going to do, why they ran. And it was so wonderful. There were people from all walks of life, people who are first generation Americans, people who were older that were doing this for their grandchildren and for posterity, people who had kids who were saying, you know what, I want to protect my children. It was so empowering, and we're trying to replicate that in Lancaster.
Oh, it's so beautiful, so intoxicating. It gets me so excited when I hear that. Gang, if you are wanting to learn more about what FreePA is doing, you can actually get their newsletter and keep up to date with the amazing ways they're fighting back. You can support them as well. All you have to do is click on the link below. You're also going to get our Turley Talks newsletter too. So you're getting 2 for 1 here, all completely free, great resources. Tell me, Anne-Marie, how did you start FreePA? Did you do the full organization, or are you solely in Lancaster?
Well, I'm a chapter leader for Lancaster. Our head basically is Tabitha Valo, and it began with the York chapter, as I said, and that started to expand. We were, I think, the 3rd chapter that began. There's one in the capital area, which is like Harrisburg, and we have one in Lebanon. We have 13 active chapters throughout the state. We have about 15,000 members on Facebook, but that's not really totally even indicative of what our membership is, because it's growing very rapidly. Capital and Lancaster are the 2 biggest chapters. We have meetings twice a month. All of our chapters do. And in Lancaster, we will see anywhere from 175 to 350 people show up at every single meeting that we have.
Anne-Marie, I can remember when I was there the first time. It was right after they announced Penn Med, the vax mandates in Penn Med. I mean, that room was utterly filled. I walked in there, I strutted in there like, man, I draw a crowd. And the first thing they did is, oh, no, that's all people from Penn Med. And I was like, darn it. Come on, guys.
Well,
Let me dream here. Let me dream a little bit. But no, it was amazing. It was standing room only, quite literally. I think that was a night you couldn't make it. I can't remember. Were you there? I don't.
Yes, I was out of state that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I wasn't there. Well, let me continue to tell you a little bit about some of the other things that we're doing, because I had mentioned our constitutional education efforts and school boards, but we are also involved in election security. We are trying to encourage people to become committee members in the GOP or conservative groups. We're getting them to volunteer at the polls, become judge of elections, take these positions, because we're finding out that a lot of what goes on at the polls every election cycle is basically managed by Democrats and people on the other side. So our people are waking up to that, and they're realizing that you really don't need any special skills. You just have to have a willingness to serve your community. and to be able to tell people things. So a lot of us are getting involved in that. We are also supporting the Audit the Vote efforts. So there's a section of our group that's working exclusively with that in collaboration with lawmakers in whatever way we can to facilitate that process. And probably most importantly is the medical freedom issue now. We are trying very much so, just like we supported the businesses that stood up against the governor, and that fight's not entirely over,
Right.
even at this point. But we are partnering with all of our healthcare professionals. We have been instrumental in helping all of the staff from Penn Medicine and now Tower Health and other affiliated Penn Medicine facilities, helping those people fight back against the forced vaccinations and the mandates that have come down. It's been a really long journey, but we have fundraised for them for a legal fund that will hopefully win this. We expect it to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And they're a great group of people. They have organized a team that works in partnership with us. And we literally are fighting every day to make sure that these people will not lose their livelihood. It
is amazing. I remember my business partner, Ralph Cochran, he lives in Lancaster and he went to one of these meetings one night, heard so much about it. And he called me right afterwards and said, "You've got to see this. You've never seen anything like this before." I mean, anybody who's watching this right now, if you're in anywhere near the Lancaster area, you got to come to one of these meetings. They are unbelievable. And he said, "You never seen so much enthusiasm. You've never seen so many people energized, so organized, so determined. You know, sort of this David and Goliath kind of confidence, you know, just so determined to say, I'm taking you out. I don't care how big you are. You fall just like anything else in this world." And just being a part, you know, I've spoken 3 times now, twice in Lancaster, one in the chapter in Elizabethtown. And every time it's the same thing that I see. It's just this extraordinary determination and excitement. And what I love about you is that you are fully facing the dire situation that we find ourselves in. And yet you have not lost any semblance of hope that you're going to be able to prevail. And you bring those two things together, and I think you're unbeatable. You're unconquerable in that sense. Can I ask you what did you do before this? What's your backstory? How did you end up leading this patriot movement here?
Honestly, I'm an ordinary citizen. I really am. I don't have any political background or anything like that. A little bit of a jack of all trades. I'm a writer, a musician. I have worked as a CPA and I've worked in hospitality. I've worn a number of hats over the years. But one thing that I have consistently done all my life is I've been involved in the fight for life on a pro-life front.
Amen.
Yep. Amen. All lives matter. And right. That includes the unborn. And so probably for 25 years, I've run a local chapter of a Defend Life organization. And we have sent out educational material throughout the years. We've done political activism work on that front. I've been writing a pro-life newsletter for 25 years.
Wow. So, awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That continues. Awesome. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
That's so awesome. That's so good. I was actually just had a radio interview yesterday on the Texas law, that heartbeat bill that just passed, law that just passed, and how it is. I was pointing out to this interviewer, this is the wave of the future. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg of this extraordinary pro-life spring that's been going on for 30 some odd years that the media never talks about, only until you have something really controversial here. But just these local chapters, a neat fun fact is we've basically eradicated abortion in about 90% of the country. Right now, it's located in basically just 10%, all urban cosmopolitan, generally all urban That's cosmopolitan true. Areas. It's so amazing. It's so God bless it. That is,
Thank you. And it proves that the education campaign works, because that's been a slow process over many years of educating people about the truth behind the pro-life movement. And I feel to some degree what we're doing with our political movement is the same. Yeah. We want to get that information to people so that they can see it, understand it, and move forward with it.
Yeah, when I was there, it was very clear, especially with people from Penn Med, this isn't Republican versus Democrats. This isn't like, ideological conservatives versus liberals. This isn't even right, left. This is the people versus a permanent political class. It's the people coming together and recognizing that the values that they treasure are really under assault, and that this is redefining political coalitions as we speak. Gang, if you're not in Pennsylvania and you want to replicate something like this, like FreePA in your state, you can sign up for their free newsletter just by clicking on the link below. You're going to get all the information and ongoing information, what they're doing, and you can replicate that in your state. You also get our Turley Talks newsletter as well. I have to sneak this in for people. I know you're going to be doing some training of our courageous Patriot Mastermind members on how to start their own chapters, their own indigenous chapters, as it were, of like a FreePA in their own towns and cities. But if people are not in our mastermind group, and you were to give them some just general advice on how to try to replicate something like this in their own context, what would that be?
I think you use the networks that exist in your community, that through your church, through your civic groups, where that people talk and discuss things, and that you have like-minded folks around you that are not happy with what's going on. Small business owners many times find themselves on the outs of much of this new globalist sort of approach to economics that we're being faced with, and a lot of them are fed up with what's happened over the last year. So they're kind of anxious for change. So I think if you can build a network, focus on a few key points that you can have an effect on, at least to start with, just be focused, be a little bit organized, get a committed group together. Don't try to conquer too much at one time, but it organically grows, because sometimes people see those efforts, the efforts bear fruit, and then more people come to the table and you have more hands to work with. And that's kind of what we experienced at FreePA. It started rather small, but it has just blown up into a major force for change. And it's funny, these days when we talk to our representatives, they all know who we are. Yeah.
They know who you are, and they begin to tremble.
A little bit, I think I do, which is something real different, I think, from the past. And it's interesting that we've had conversations with them on the phone, like where they will be considering something, and they said publicly they were going to go one way or another, and then like a few days after the phone conversation, suddenly they seem to have changed their minds, which is kind of interesting to see that happen.
Coincidence. How odd. How strange.
Yeah. So I think speaking up and letting the people that represent you know that you're watching them and that you expect them to live up to the promises that they made when they were running for those offices is an important part of that too, because then they're accountable to the people. That's right. And that's ultimately what we want and what we should expect as our right as the people.
Exactly. We want to be represented, not ruled. Exactly right.
Exactly.
So,
amen.
So well put. Anne-Marie, I just can't thank you enough for this. You're such an inspiration to so many. I got to tell you, and I started off saying you are my hero. I do sleep well at night knowing that there are patriots like you out there fighting the good fight. And you're just so amazing. So thank you so much for being with us. I so appreciate it.
You're so welcome. It is my pleasure. And thank you, Dr. Turley, for everything that you do. Thank you.
Oh, it's easy compared to what you do. That's great. Again, if you want to learn more about FreePA and the amazing ways in which people like Anne-Marie are fighting to defend faith, family, and freedom, all you got to do is click on the link below. You're going to get 2 for 1. You're going to start getting FreePA's newsletter, and you're also going to get your own Turley Talks newsletter as well. 2 great free resources, just 1 sign up. Click on the link below and join the fight. Thanks again, Anne-Marie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.